All-Star game this weekend, Cal. Any places you're hitting while you're down there?
Well, I've only been to Atlanta a couple times, but Lou Williams told me they got some good wings down there.
I'm gonna have to check those out.
Check it out.
What's up, Kings fans? Welcome to another episode of the Royal Report with Calvin and Barry. So excited to welcome you to this week's episode. Hey, the Sacramento Kings won a couple games this week. I know I'm excited. Let us know down below if you are too. I want to give two quick shout outs before we start the show today. Number one to Buddy Hield, fastest player in NBA history to 1,000 threes, even faster than Steph Curry. Vivek, you were right about one thing. Only took him 350 games to do it. Wow, that's amazing. Good job, buddy. Keep up the good work. Number two shout out I want to give out to our own Tyrese Haliburton for winning Rookie of the Month. This is his second consecutive month winning the award. We expect many more of these to come, Tyrese, so keep it up.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Congratulations to both of them. Thank you, as always, for watching. I speak for both of us when I say we really appreciate the support. Please, if you enjoy this show or our content, like and subscribe to our channel down below. On today's episode, NBA GMs are blowing up our phone lines again. In honor of the new Mortal Kombat movie coming out, we'll take a look at the Kings' finishing moves. And Kingstradamus stops by the set to make some All-Star Weekend predictions. But we begin, as always, with highlights from around the league. We want to wish a happy, short belated birthday to the former mayor of Sacramento, Kevin Johnson, who turned 55 yesterday. Kevin is largely responsible for helping save our Sacramento Kings, keeping them from moving to Seattle a few years back. We cannot thank him enough for that, of course. He's most remembered for his playing days as a supporting cast alongside league MVP Charles Barkley on the Phoenix Suns. Barry, there's another big man making an MVP case out west currently, is that right?
There is, and he goes by the name Nikola Jokic. And he is a big man indeed. He is leading the Denver Nuggets to victory, 4 victories in a row. They are streaking right now. And Jokic is averaging a staggering 27 points a game, 11 rebounds, and 8.6 assists. Better stats than LeBron James. Wow. Jokic, keep it going.
Yeah, he really is having an amazing season. A lot of big guys having amazing seasons. I feel like we were just talking about Joel Embiid for MVP. So big guys playing in big ways, producing in big ways. Well, speaking of big-time performances, TJ McConnell recorded the first points, assists, steals, triple-double in nearly 23 years on Wednesday night against the Cleveland Cavaliers. More impressive than that, he had 9 of his 10 steals in the first half, which is an NBA record now. TJ won't be making an appearance in the All-Star game this weekend, but that was certainly an All-Star performance. And as we get to All-Star weekend, the rosters have officially been set for Sunday's game.
They have been set. And quick note, real quick on McConnell. Really weird. It reminds me of 2017 Draymond Green. He recorded a triple-double without points. I think he had 4 points in that game, rebounds, assists, steals. He had 5 blocks in that game. So awesome to see guys putting up records and doing things in unusual ways. So happy to see that. Back to All-Star Weekend, we have Team LeBron against Team Kevin Durant. I think this is the first year we see LeBron and Giannis on the same team. That's pretty amazing in itself. We also see the Brooklyn Nets are teamed up on Team KD. KD obviously picks Kyrie Irving, his best friend, with his first overall pick. But in a surprising move, he doesn't take James Harden until his 6th pick, which is very, very surprising. Doc Rivers leads the East. This is his third year as a head coach for the East. 2 years with Boston. Didn't make it with the Clippers, but this is his first year with the 76ers. So real exciting stuff going on. We're going to take a quick break and we'll jump right back into your Sacramento Kings.
I'm here for it. Here comes HP. Oh, waltzing down the lane. Harrison Barnes.
Welcome back to the Royal Report. It's time for your Sacramento Kings Weekcap. Sacramento literally scraped their way through last week, going 2-2. All 4 games were decided by 4 points or less. The Kings had some terrible issues at the free throw line in some of these games. In their 2 losses, they were outshot 96% to 59% against the Hornets and 96% again to 62.5% against the Blazers yesterday. Both of those games, the Kings were up by at least 5 points with 3 minutes to go or less in the fourth quarter. Did not manage to close them out at the free throw line very well. And as far as their 2 wins, they came against the Detroit Pistons team that has the 2nd worst record in the league overall, worst in the Eastern Conference, and a Laker team that was pretty depleted. No LeBron James and no Anthony Davis, Barry.
Yeah, I'm just happy to see a couple W's this week. As you mentioned, 2-2. What else can we hope for, Kings fans? But, it goes back to the tail of the tape. Bad 3-point defense, bad free throw shooting, not a good combination to win games. We did beat the Lakers. We seem to have had the Lakers number over the past couple years. We beat them last year in the bubble, the year before that, last game of the season. So glad to see some W's against the Lakers, but the game didn't really mean anything. There's no LeBron, there's no Anthony Davis. Mr. Uh-oh did his damage as usual to the Sacramento Kings, but the Kings scraped by. I think the loss against Charlotte was most disappointing for me. All 5 starters were in double figures for the Sacramento Kings. It really was a good team effort. They just couldn't pull it through at the end. Bad 3-point defense. PJ Washington killed it. 42 points in that game. I saw him hitting threes late in the game. LaMelo Ball, 24 points. Just outshined the Sacramento Kings. So that was a tough one to lose. I kind of penciled in the Kings game against the Pistons as a win just because the fact that the Pistons do have the worst record in the NBA. Blake Griffin's not playing. They're kind of just in a complete mess, even more than us. So I kind of penciled in a W there. The most interesting loss for me was against the Portland Trailblazers last night. You mentioned free throw shooting, again, was a major problem. But if you look at the overall team stats for the game, the Sacramento Kings had more rebounds, more assists, less turnovers, they took more shots, and they shot about the same as the other team, and they still lost the game. So it just is a real puzzling picture there. The Kings need to step it up on defense. They need to shoot better from the line, but happy overall to see a couple wins this week.
Yeah, well, unfortunately for that Trailblazer game, despite all those statistics you rattled off, Damian Lillard wears a Trailblazer uniform, and that was the main cause of problems for Sacramento, whether it was in the first quarter or the fourth quarter. He just killed them. He always does. He kills everybody, it seems like. And then against Charlotte, yeah, very disappointing. They missed a ton of free throws at the end there. They really had that game in the bag. They totally let that one slip away. And it was unfortunate we didn't get to see Tyrese Haliburton against LaMelo Ball in their Rookie of the Year battle on the court. But they are playing in a couple weeks, so we will get to see that hopefully coming up.
Good last 2 games for Buddy Hield. 59 points in the last 2 games, so good to see him.
He's on tear right now, for sure. When we come back, we're going to be talking more about Buddy Hield.
As we see a steal and Kings out in the open floor. Can I get a tray ball, buddy? Bang, 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 buddy.
All right, welcome back. As we mentioned before the break, Buddy Hield has been on an absolute tear offensively. 59 points over the last 2 games. He has been shooting lights out. He also set the record 1,000 threes, fastest in NBA history, only 350 games. Pretty amazing stuff Buddy's doing on the offensive end of the floor. But that brings me to the other end of the floor, the defensive end. And this is where Buddy has really had some problems. He hasn't played well on the defensive end. He can't keep anybody in front of him. He is ranked currently 116 out of 119 in defensive real plus minus for shooting guards in the NBA. So not good to see there. You also see he had 4 games in February in single digit scoring. So we're going to need to see a little bit more consistency coming out of Buddy Hield. The problem with him is most of the positives come on the offensive end of the ball. So if he is not playing well offensively, the Kings are absolutely lost.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Consistency. That is the biggest thing for him. He is incredibly streaky. He'll have weeks like he had this week where he is averaging 23.5 points per game and shooting 49% from 3. And you love it. That's what he has to do in order to be successful on this team and on any team in the league. But as you mentioned, defense is a major problem for him. And if he's not hitting from the outside, he is frankly not worth starting for this team. So that's why I really think as we approach the deadline, we've talked a lot recently about potential moves that the Kings could make. His value has got to be pretty high right now. He's riding a really hot shooting streak. He's scoring a lot of points. Teams are always looking for shooting. So I think this is a good opportunity for Sacramento to look at a potential deal that moves Buddy Hield.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I wouldn't be surprised if Buddy's moved before the trade deadline. I don't think his trade value's been this high in probably a year or so. And, teams are shuffling, trying to make things happen. I think the Kings, they're 7 games below 500. It's finally time for them to pull the plug. Buddy Hield is the first piece in the puzzle. We'll be right back.
Scorpion, win.
If you look just at the box scores of the Sacramento Kings games this season, they appear to be a team that is clutch and wins close games. They're 10-5 this year in games decided by 5 points or less. However, that doesn't really tell the full story. As we mentioned already, the Kings are dead last in the league in free throw percentage. They're also dead last in the league in points allowed, opponent's field goal percentage, opponent's three-point percentage, and defensive rating. Those are not exactly things you'd expect from a team that wins close games consistently. So I think it's a little bit of fool's gold here, and I really do think as the deadline approaches, like we just mentioned, it's imminent that the front office for Sacramento is going to make some major changes to this team because you just cannot continue to play when you put up those types of numbers.
Yeah, we had an episode a few weeks ago titled "The Sacramento Kings Are Clutch." If I were to rename this episode, it would be "The Sacramento Kings Are Not Clutch," because they simply have not been. And bad free throw shooting, no defense is a recipe for disaster, especially in the fourth quarter. So unless they can improve in those statistics, I don't see any changes coming.
Yeah, and this week, you had 2 perfect examples of everything we just talked about against Portland last night and against Charlotte. They missed a bunch of free throws late in the game, both games. They had leads in the fourth quarter in both games, and they simply could not stop anybody from scoring in those games. PJ Washington, only 22 years old, but that guy came out and lit up the Kings for 42 points, and Damian Lillard, 42 points. And they hit nothing but threes. So
yeah, the Sacramento Kings, they need to play some defense. We'll be right back, guys. Welcome back, guys. We got Kingstradamus here in this week's episode. And Kingstradamus will be sharing with us some predictions from this weekend's All-Star game. Kingstradamus, I'll let you jump right in.
That's right. Thanks for having me, Barry. I'm glad you called me to get some answers again.
We're going to talk about All-Star Weekend, particularly our winners of the three-point contest, dunk contest, and the All-Star Game MVP. Let's kick it off with the three-point contest. This one, everybody is going to want to pick Steph Curry with the year that he's having. Not going to happen. Zach LaVine, got another guy who can get hot real quick. He's having a tremendous season. Zach is going to take home the three-point contest and become the first player in NBA history to win both the slam dunk contest and three-point contest.
Wow, that's big stuff there, Kingstradamus. So, who will win the dunk contest this year if Zach LaVine is not participating?
Yeah, kind of a down year for the dunk contest. I think because of the fact that it was put together so quickly and there's a short break and all that, not a lot of guys want to participate. 3 guys in the dunk contest this year: Anthony Simons from Portland, Cassius Stanley of Indiana, and Obi Toppin of the New York Knicks. I'm going to go with Cassius Stanley. Guy from Duke, rookie, just an unbelievable leaper. I think he's going to have some special stuff in store for the dunk contest this year.
Yeah, and I know you've been a big fan of his ever since our draft special. You talked about him falling in the second round, so pretty cool to hear that there. He's finally made it to the NBA, and he's going to have his big stage this weekend. So
that's right.
Really exciting there.
That's right.
And then it all highlights or caps off with the NBA All-Star Game, led by Team LeBron versus Team Kevin Durant. Who will be the MVP of this game, Kingstradamus?
That's right. So everybody knows I had Kevin Durant as my NBA MVP this year. I'm still sticking with it. It's not looking so good right now, but his numbers are great. He just needs to play a few more games. Not the All-Star Game, though. Kevin, stay on the bench for that one. We want you healthy. However, I am going to go with a member of Team Durant, and that would be James Harden. He is going to have a triple-double in this game, playing alongside Kyrie Irving. He's going to want to win it out there for Kevin Durant, who's not participating. James Harden, All-Star Game MVP.
Interesting. And which team will be winning the All-Star Game?
Team LeBron.
Team LeBron.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So I got Team LeBron winning the All-Star Game. I think LeBron is going to make his case for the MVP award, and that is simply based on the fact that that award was named after Kobe Bryant last year. So I think LeBron's going to make a run at that, and I think Kyrie is going to make a run at that award. As far as three-point competition, I got Donovan Mitchell. I think he's pissed about being last chosen on Team LeBron, and I think he's got a desire to show that Utah basketball is here to stay. So I'm picking him for winning the three-point competition. And then as far as dunk competition, I'm taking Anthony Simons. He is a lengthy guy who can get up there. And I'm going to throw you one more. Skills challenge, Doncic.
Safe pick. Safe pick.
Very safe pick. All right, that's it, guys. We'll be right back, and we will jump into the next category.
And I know when that hotline blink, that can only mean one thing.
Welcome back. It's time to hit the phones again as we receive some incoming calls from various NBA GMs involving some trade situations. Our first call coming in is from Raphael Stone, who is in his first year as GM of the Houston Rockets. Barry, are you picking up this call?
Yeah, I think I'd pick up the call. I don't know if there's many players on the Rockets team that I would be interested in, but I do like all those draft picks that they have. They have a ton of picks, first-round picks from all over the league. Can't get too many first-round picks, so I'd always be interested in that. There also is a guy by the name of Victor Oladipo who I would be interested in. I'm a little hesitant to make a deal for Victor considering he's on a 1-year expiring contract, and I am not sure where he's going to go out in the offseason. There's been some rumors he wants to join up with the Miami Heat, but I would consider making a deal if I could get a verbal commitment from Victor.
Yeah, I would agree with you, and it's because of the glutton of draft picks that the Houston Rockets hold. That is definitely the most valuable thing that I can see that they have. And Victor Oladipo is worth taking a flyer on too. He's exactly the type of player that the Kings need. Real good two-way emerging star in this league. And I'd be interested in PJ Tucker as well. Another guy brings a lot of veteran leadership and plays tough defense. So he does happen to be on an expiring deal as well, but I wouldn't be as concerned with losing him in the offseason. I would more want him to kind of help bring along some guys like Marvin Bagley, currently that are on the Kings roster. We got another call coming in. This is from Scott Perry of the New York Knicks.
Scott Perry. Wow, I feel like he's been the GM of the Knicks for quite a while, huh? He's finally hitting gold with some of his trades and draft picks. So he's got a ton of assets there. I don't know if any of these assets are really acquirable by the Sacramento Kings. One guy I would be interested in, I named him on last week's episode. He goes by the name of Kevin Knox. He is a small forward, very young player. Still needs a ton of work put into his game, but he is a hard-nosed player, loves to play defense. Something I think would fit really well with the Sacramento Kings. What about you, Cal?
Yeah, I would pick this phone call up, but it's probably going to be pretty quick because I have a feeling after I ask what I want for, he's going to hang up on me. I think the only players that I'm interested in here are RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley. Quickley is having a great rookie season. He's starting to be mentioned with Tyrese Haliburton and LaMelo Ball in the Rookie of the Year conversations. And of course, we know RJ Barrett is their future star in place. So I do think that the Knicks are starting to change their culture over as a team. They've got a lot of young guys, and Coach Tibbs has come in and really worked hard with them on the defensive end of the basketball. And you can see that in their play. So there's definitely some interest, I think, in a few players there, but ultimately I don't think they're going to give me what I want. So
I might consider offering a couple second rounders for Coach Tibbs.
Yeah, you never know. They might go for that one. All right, we got one more call coming in. This is Travis Schlenik of the Atlanta Hawks. Barry, are you talking to Travis?
I'm picking up this call. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask how Bogdan's doing. And I am going to ask how their head coach search is going. I might offer them Luke Walton for a second round pick, maybe a first round pick if I can squeeze one out of them. There are a few players on this roster that I'm interested in. DeAndre Hunter is one, and number two is Clint Capella. I know he was recently acquired just last year from the Houston Rockets as the Rockets decided to hit the reset button. But I'm a big fan of Clint Capella, and I feel he would fit in perfectly on this Sacramento Kings roster. What about you, Cal?
Yeah, Capella is an interesting choice there. That definitely means that Rashawn Holmes, is going to have to battle or compete with him for minutes or even a spot on the team altogether. The person I'm most interested in is John Collins. I still cannot believe that he's actually being mentioned in trade rumors, but I guess that just goes to show the type of year they're having in Atlanta. I would totally be all in for John Collins. I think he is a fantastic player. He's having a great season, and I think he could work well in Sacramento, especially next to a guy like De'Aaron Fox or Tyrese Haliburton, for that matter, at point guard.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of John Collins. What do you think it would take to get a guy like him?
Oh man, I don't know. I would expect it would involve probably Marvin Bagley, maybe Harrison Barnes, and a pick, something along those lines. It's going to take a lot, I would imagine, to get him. He is, just one of those on the verge of being an all-star caliber player. He's really having that type of year, so I expect it to take a lot. But he's definitely somebody I'm talking to Travis about, for sure. And DeAndre Hunter, too, was the other guy I was going to say.
Yeah, awesome picks. I forgot to mention John. I'm a big fan of John Collins. So, Sacramento Kings, if you are listening, Monty, if you are listening, let's pick up the phone.
Yeah, let's tap those phones.
We'll be right back, guys.
You can quote me on that.
Welcome back. This brings us to another new topic on the Royal Report. This one is called Kings Quotes, where we break down quotes from Sacramento Kings players. The first quote here is coming from Marvin Bagley. I think that was our problem during our streak. We weren't the ones hitting first. We were getting hit first and trying to fight back. Calvin, does that perfectly describe the 9-game losing streak Sacramento Kings?
Yeah, I think it does, although they were also, leading in a lot of those games in the first half. So I'm not so sure how much you really buy into that word for word quote, but he definitely has a very valid point. I think once they lost a couple in a row, they definitely took a, haymaker, and they were having trouble getting up for sure.
Yeah, I think it's a common problem with many young teams around the league is they're a little starstruck. They get caught deer in the headlights sometimes, and you end up down 20 or down 10 early and trying to fight back the entire game. So happy to see that the Kings are starting to realize that and understanding the fact that they need to get out ahead and they need to be the aggressor. So love to see that. That brings us to our next quote here. This quote is from head coach Luke Walton. As far as the front office, I feel very connected with them and very locked in as far as where we're at and where we're trying to go as a group. Calvin, let me hear your thoughts on this one.
To be honest, this just sounds like, what else are you supposed to say if you're Luke Walton? Whether you're actually not connected to him or not, he's not going to come out and openly say that. Also, hard to tell what the context of this question was or where the quote is directed to. So, he's saying the things that he needs to say. Do I believe that? Not 100%, but I don't know. Do you?
Does Luke Walton think he's only going to be here, through the rest of the season? If that's what he thinks, then I would say he's on the same page as management. Last week, I was very upset during the show, and I called for him to be fired in the next couple weeks. It's still a very, very real possibility that could happen. But the more and more that I contemplate it, I think that some big changes to the roster are going to end up happening before the deadline, and the Sacramento Kings are going to need a scapegoat to blame the losses on through the rest of the year. And unfortunately, I think that scapegoat will be Luke Walton.
It's very possible.
That brings us to our next quote here. This quote is from Harrison Barnes. We know what we're capable of, and we are underachieving. Calvin, does this quote not perfectly describe the Sacramento Kings over the last 14 years?
14 years, I'm not so sure about that. They have had some pretty tough teams in those 14-year spans. But yeah, I would say this team is underachieving for sure. The question is, by how much? We think that they're capable of being a playoff team, but are they capable of being a contending team? Hard to say. I would say probably not in the Western Conference. And so, underachieving by how much really is the main point here.
Yeah, there's not much context on this quote. And Harrison Barnes is right. And I think that Harrison Barnes has had a lot of confidence in this roster. He showed it last year with his beard challenge. I'm not shaving until we're 500. How did that go? Not well. But, he would argue that they underachieved last year. And what's the famous quote? You're as good as your record says you are. And simply, that's what the Sacramento Kings are right now, in my opinion.
And I think we got to give a lot of props to Harrison here. I mean, we're talking about a guy who's a former NBA champion, played on one of the greatest teams or team that had one of the greatest runs in NBA history. And that was what he came into the league as. That's all he knew. Mm-hmm. And now he's been so loyal to Sacramento. He's done so much for the community of Sacramento. That's well documented. He's really tried to bring along these young guys, and he's playing great on top of that. So you really can't ask anything else from Harrison Barnes.
That brings us to our next quote here. This one is coming from Corey Joseph. My head is fine. I've had a hard head since a kid. It's probably from that road hockey growing up. Many Kings fans might think that this quote is about Corey Joseph's struggles this season. However, this quote is after a collision mid-game where he hit his head on an opposing player. Calvin, is this quote shallow as it seems, or is it a bigger analogy?
No, I don't think it's a bigger analogy. We're talking about a Canadian who's a hockey player. I mean, what else would you expect from a hockey player growing up in Canada?
He hasn't been playing well. Is it in his head? Who knows? We'll be right back, guys.
Can I just say one thing?
Say it, baby, just say it.
I'm standing here staring at rock legend Bruce Dickinson.
The cock and the walk, baby.
And if Bruce Dickinson wants more cowbell, we should probably give him more cowbell.
Say it, baby.
Welcome back to the Royal Report. It's time to take some questions from our fans and ring those cowbells. Let's get our first question from the announcer.
Would you consider anyone on the Kings untradeable?
Is anyone untradeable? No. We talked just last week about a trade, as terrible as it sounds, involving De'Aaron Fox for Bradley Beal. Obviously, any trade that I'm even going to consider involving De'Aaron Fox has to be something of that caliber. But if a guy like Bradley Beal is out there, to me, there really isn't a situation where I would consider anybody on this team untradeable in those circumstances.
Yeah, you look around the league and you try and name how many players in the NBA are untradeable. I can only think of one, really, and that's probably LeBron James. And in all fairness, LeBron was technically traded to the Miami Heat. I know it was a sign and trade. KD was signed and traded to the Brooklyn Nets. People get traded all the time. Yes, De'Aaron Fox is the franchise player in the Sacramento Kings. Yes, Tyrese Haliburton is prize rookie in the Sacramento Kings. But it's a business. You got to do what's best for your team, and everybody's available. That's just how it works. So I would say no, there's no player that is untradeable at this point on the Sacramento Kings.
Maybe highly unlikely, but not untradeable.
Exactly. Next question.
Better shooter, Buddy or Peja?
All right, so let's break it down here between Buddy and Peja. Buddy Hield, 40% career from 3 on 7 attempts per game, 86% career at the free throw line. Peja, 40% career from 3 on 5.5 attempts per game, and 89% at the free throw line. So, what's my tiebreaker? Peja, 2-time three-point shooting contest winner. Buddy, you want to claim that title, you better get in the contest.
Don't forget, NBA champion.
As well.
I'm going with Peja. One of my favorite Sacramento Kings players of all time. Known for shooting the 3-ball during a different era. Shooting threes in the 90s and the 2000s is a whole nother animal. If Peja was playing in today's game, he'd be averaging 10 threes a game. 10 attempts a game.
Yeah. Very, very likely.
Next question.
What is your favorite moment as a Sacramento Kings fan?
Well, as a lifetime Sacramento Kings fan, I've had quite a few memorable moments for the Kings. But I do have to say my fondest moment was the moment that Kevin Johnson, happy birthday, as the acting mayor of Sacramento, announced that he had found an ownership group to keep the Kings in Sacramento. I almost cried. It was amazing. My heart was so low. I thought the Kings were out of town. All the reports that were coming out, I tried to stay hopeful. But, I saw the writing on the wall. I'm not going to lie. And as soon as that happened, it just filled my heart with joy. I was so excited that the Kings were going to stay in my city, Sacramento, and it just still makes me smile. Thank you, Kevin Johnson. Thank you, Adam Silver. Thank you, David Stern.
Yeah.
I forgive you for the whole New York draft incident. But yes, awesome moment.
That was a great moment, for sure. How could it not be? Mine, I'm going to go a little bittersweet here. The last game at Arco, April 9th, 2016, which just so happens to be my mom's birthday. Happy birthday coming up, Mom. Hi, Mom. But I mean, I will always associate the Kings with Arco Arena. It was partly because of my age and, partly because that's when they were so good at the time. But anyone who's ever been to a game at Arco knows what type of atmosphere that was. And that last game, it was as loud as it's ever been in there. 114-112 win over the Oklahoma City Thunder. They sent Arco out in style. That was a great, great moment, even though it was a little sad at the same time.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Super great moment.
Next question.
What do you expect from this team for the remainder of the season?
What do I expect from the Sacramento Kings? Wow, that's a tough question. What do you expect from the unexpected? This season has been a roller coaster. Up and down, up and down, up and down. As much as I would love to see a 7-game win streak to put the Kings back on top, I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're going to see more losses. I think we're going to see some trades. And I think we're going to see a high draft pick. I just hope that the Kings, whatever they do, they pick a plan, they stick with it, and we're better off next year.
Well, I'm going to take this question very literally. It says, what do you expect from this team going forward? I don't expect anything from this team going forward, and that's because I don't think this team's going to look anywhere near the same for the rest of the season. It's been reported now that the Kings are working on, quote, something significant as the deadline approaches here. I think you're going to see potentially a bunch of new faces in there, and so therefore I don't expect anything out of this current group of Kings that we see today. What do I expect from the future Kings going forward? Probably more of the same. Like you said, they'll win a few games, they'll lose a few games, they'll be hovering around that 10-9 spot for the play-in tournament. Hopefully they make it and we get some postseason atmosphere basketball for Sacramento, but it's going to be more of the same, I would say, overall. And that is all the time that we have for questions today. Thank you, as always, for submitting your questions. And if you have a question that you'd like to hear answered by Barry and myself on the show, write it in the comment section below on the screen. We'll be right back.
Maybe even take a lead with a three. Belly.
Oh,
Hit it. Bang!
All right, guys, thanks again for joining us on this week's show. We have another exciting week of Kings basketball. It is a slow week. We do have a break for the All-Star activities, and then we resume action on Thursday against the Houston Rockets. Another team struggling in the Western Conference. The Kings have been seeming to switch spots with them every other week or so in the standings, but they are still a competitive basketball team. They are led by John Wall. They do have a few really good players on that team, so it is going to be another challenge for Sacramento. Hopefully they can get healthy throughout this weekend. They can work on some defense, and they can be ready to jump back into the season next week, Thursday, with a W against the Houston Rockets.
Yeah, the Rockets have been perhaps even more inconsistent than the Sacramento Kings, if you can believe that. Their lineup just continues to be a revolving door. They've had tons of injuries, not to mention the trades. James Harden did start the season on that team, so a lot of inconsistency with the players on the court and the play of the players on the court for Houston. So hopefully the Kings can take advantage of that.
Yeah, I want to thank you all again for watching. If you guys like this show, make sure you hit that like button. Please subscribe so you don't miss out on any more content. We post Sacramento Kings content every week, a new show every Friday. We're happy to have you guys. Thank you so much, and go Kings!
Go Kings!
See you guys next week. Thanks, guys.